Well, in spite of the fact that we've finished up with Walking with Walt, we're going to do one more Walt Disney show. This time kind of Walking Without Walt.
Right.
Because right at the high point of all of this stuff going on, Walt Disney died.
Yeah.
And we were just suddenly without Walt Disney.
It was terrible. I remember my grandma, she's from California, and she was so upset about it.
Just not much over 10 years after Disneyland opened, and no more Walt Disney.
Right.
They were well on their way to building Epcot and Walt Disney World. He never saw one shovelful of dirt turned over, as far as I know. Disneyland is the only park that Walt Disney ever actually set foot in. It's the only theme park he ever saw functioning as a theme park, and that's really sad when you think about it.
Really, really sad.
They had, in fact, just barely finished New Orleans Square.
Right.
And in New Orleans Square, above Pirates of the Caribbean, they were building a brand new apartment.
Wow.
For Disney, and after he died, they just left that unfinished. And only just a few years ago did the corporation decide, well, let's go ahead and finish Walt's apartment above Pirates of the Caribbean. But it's his big suite apartment that's up above Pirates of the Caribbean, finally finished and looking beautiful. But he never saw it. He never used it, and Lily lost all interest in all of this stuff after Walt died, and didn't follow up with anything. So, but many years later, the corporation decided to build another theme park there.
Oh.
And Disneyland is so landlocked
Yes.
that it's like, well, where in the world are you going to? And you're not going to buy real estate in Orange County to build it. But they sure had a big parking lot.
Yeah, they did.
And so somebody said, well, if we can put in parking structures and buy up nearby land to use for overflow parking, we can build a whole other theme park, maybe even 2 theme parks in the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
And that's exactly what they did. They built California Adventure.
Yes.
And they built Downtown Disney, which isn't really a theme park.
No, that's more of a shopping mall.
It's kind of a shopping mall.
You don't need admission to get into that. Just your checkbook.
We took the monorail
Yes.
from Disneyland over to California Adventure. Now, in fairness, the monorail doesn't actually go to California Adventure. It goes to Downtown Disney.
Yes.
And then from there you can enter California Adventure. California Adventure is so much like a sequel to Disneyland.
It sure is.
And when you start looking around, you go, well, this corresponds with that, corresponds with that. And it's like the people at the corporation are going, let's figure out what it was about Disneyland that made that so successful and do the same thing, only different.
A little different.
Have you noticed they did the same thing with Star Wars?
They did.
Once they bought the franchise, the next 3 movies are basically just the first 3 movies done over again, only Luke has become Yoda kind of thing.
So the next generation can have that first-time experience.
Exactly. But they're really into finding a successful formula and sticking with it. So California Adventure is the sequel to Disneyland on so many levels. One of the things they've done is the big water show.
That's just amazing.
It's
the first time I ever saw that was like, what?
How are they doing that? Yeah, the technology and the computers and a lot of it's sort of performed live by people controlling the system and whatnot. But they call it the World of Color.
Yes.
The Disney World of Color as an homage to the TV show.
Yeah, Disney's Wonderful World of Color. Never missed it.
It started off just called Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that's how they actually advertised Disneyland. By the time Disneyland opened, everybody had been watching Disneyland getting built on TV for a year on this show called Disneyland. And when color TVs came out, they changed the name of that show to The Wonderful World of Color.
Yes.
Tinkerbell would come out with her little paintbrush and paint the screen all these crazy colors.
And the fireworks. Yes.
So the water show is an homage to that, and then they just call it Disney's World of Color as an homage to the wonderful world of color. The whole concept behind California Adventure has been to create something uniquely California, and
Yes.
a bit of history and a theme park themed around California. And Main Street from Disneyland has become Los Angeles in the 1930s.
Yes.
You can't even think about Los Angeles without thinking about automobiles,
Yeah.
because Los Angeles and the automobile grew up together.
They sure did.
And Los Angeles was probably the first city anywhere in the world that was completely designed for cars.
Yes.
And so it's very appropriate that at California Adventure they have Cars Land.
Yes, I love cars. I mean, it's so ingenious the way they've done that. It's so cool.
In California Adventure, they've got a lot of Cars themed rides,
Yes.
especially in Cars Land. One of them is a slot car. So, you know, they've taken this little 30-second scale 1950s, 1960s era slot car, and they've blown it up to full size, because as a kid, it's like, gee, I wish I could get inside the slot car and actually run it, you
Yeah.
know, and how crazy would it be to be inside it? Well, that Cars Land, you get to do that.
You actually get to do that. It's like making make-believe come true.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, they're able to do things now because of the computers that Walt Disney couldn't have even imagined.
Yes.
I mean, he did his audio animatronics and so on, but that even that technology's come to a level that Walt Disney couldn't possibly have imagined. But some of the rides, the car-themed rides and stuff that they have there, robotic cars with GPS and motion sensing and collision avoidance, and they're just able to do rides that are, as you're watching them, you're going, how in the world are they doing that?
Yes. Right.
But there it is, you know, and it's really neat. And I think if Walt Disney had a chance to see California Adventure,
Oh,
totally approve.
he'd be in his 10th delight.
Can you just imagine?
The look on the kids' faces alone when they see all of that. Everybody has seen Cars
Yep.
and see Lightning McQueen, and I think it just gave me joy, especially like our granddaughter. You watched her face, it was like, oh, you know, and she was born after Cars
Yep.
was popular, but she knows Cars.
But they've been able to do some things because the whole park, even though there's a Cars Land, every other themed area of California Adventure also has an homage to automobiles.
Automobiles, exactly.
Because you just can't think of California and not think of automobiles. If you start going through and you say, well, each themed area in California Adventure is kind of drawn from one of the themed areas at Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's a sequel, it's the same, only different.
Yes.
And
comparable ride.
the comparable ride, Fantasyland became Paradise Pier.
Yeah.
And that is so intriguing to me, because the whole notion of a theme park is to build essentially an amusement park that isn't an amusement park. It follows some theme that they do. Paradise Pier doing a theme park where the theme is an amusement park.
Yes.
Huh?
But that's what you have up and down the coast in California.
But they had those
Yes.
famous piers. There was the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which
Yes.
we did the show
Did
about.
that one.
And there was Playland in
Yeah.
San Francisco, which no longer exists. The Santa Monica Pier, which
Yes.
does exist,
One
although
of my
it's
favorites.
not quite as big and fascinating and wonderful as it once was.
Well, it's still fun.
It's still neat. Well, as we mentioned at the top of the show, as we were just putting the finishing touches on this edit, we found out that 2 weeks after we shot this, while they were taking down the Christmas lights, they also took down Paradise Pier.
Amazing.
The whole thing's going away.
That is just crazy.
I mean, the rides will still be there and something will still be there
Right.
based on Paradise Pier, but it won't be Paradise Pier anymore. And we're not sure if it will be themed around an amusement park anymore. It certainly won't be themed around like an amusement pier anymore.
Guess
Are they getting rid of the 19th century, early 20th century look? Because one of the buildings that they have announced they're building there is the home from The Incredibles, and that's like uber modern.
Yeah, the retro style that was so popular late 50s, early 60s.
And so it's all glass and angles and bright colors, and they're changing the roller coaster into the Incredibles ride. And so they're building the Incredibles house as part of that. And it's like, well, gee, so we don't know. We're not sure, except that this ends up being some of the last footage ever shot of Paradise Pier.
Oh, that is just wild.
And we sure didn't know that was happening as we were doing it.
No, I'm glad we got over there, because the other 2 times I've been there, I didn't quite make it that far. So I'm glad I got all the way over there this time.
Yep, this themed land that was, and it really is the corresponding themed land to Fantasyland. As we've said, everything here is kind of a sequel.
Right.
And Paradise Pier was kind of Fantasyland. So it's got all the old original Disney characters, Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, Goofy, Donald Duck. And those are painted on all of the things. And you got Mickey out in the middle of the Wonder Wheel there. We're not even sure if Mickey's going to survive being in the middle of the Wonder Wheel.
I know it won't be the same place if he's not
there. I guess the debate rages on, because the original plan was that he'd be taken off the Wonder Wheel and thrown in the trash. And I guess some people are just outraged, saying, you can't do that.
No, it's Disneyland.
And so maybe Mickey is going to survive on the Wonder Wheel, but they've already pulled all of these cars that are here on the Wonder Wheel off of the Wonder Wheel. And they're in the paint shop being repainted as Incredibles cars. And Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, all these characters that you see here on the cars are now gone. And they won't be back. And I don't know if that means they're also getting rid of the 19th century gold pinstriping and all of that, because it doesn't fit the Incredibles
Exchange
theme.
it for laser beams from Jack Jack.
Yeah, and maybe that's what goes in the middle of the Wonder Wheel now, is Jack Jack with laser beams coming out of his eyes. Which is cute, but dang it, this is part of Disney history, and it's sad to see it going away this way.
Posing on a friend or something.
Yeah. So we sure didn't know that we were getting that, but we did.
We did.
So there you have it. Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop on over to the channel. And while you're over there, you want to subscribe to the channel, because then you get notified. There's a little bell that does notifications. You can click on that, and that'll notify you when we upload any show or send any kind of community message or anything like that, and you get to find out about it. So subscription has its benefits, and it doesn't cost a darn thing. And the way to do that is to click on the blue button, zoink, right down here, blue button, and it says subscribe. Means what it says, oddly enough. If you don't see it there, you could try turning your phone and it might appear, or it just may not be supported on your phone or device, tablet, whatever you're watching on, because not everything supports the blue button. So in that case, just go to the channel and subscribe that way. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again on Tuesday with The Collector's Attic. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.